and gentlemen, we are back. My name is Flex Mike, also known as Michael. We are back. And by we, I mean I am back. This mysterious creature on the other side of this cloak or this cloth. I have no idea who it is. I'm looking for the snowman. I need to know where the snowman is, what's going on. I haven't heard from him in quite some time. I have no idea what is happening right now, but excuse me, creature on the other side of the glass. Could you please introduce yourself to the world?
It's me, Flex Mike.
Oh, there he
It's
is.
me. The
What's
dead
up?
snow is back. The Flex
There,
snow's back.
there's the snowman. Hey, look here. Our boy Matt here is just wondering where the snowman is. He had no idea. You honestly had him shocked. He had no idea. He was very worried about your whereabouts and your well being. Okay, and I for one am just glad that you're here and glad that you're alive because I had no idea what was going on.
Oh yes. Oh, I had to. Today is a good one. It feels good. Feels right to do it that way, and maybe even for when we get to do maybe a Halloween special
Right.
when it comes about later next month.
Dude, so are you the missing member of the ministry? Like, are we sleeping on that or
Yeah,
what?
the Ministry of Darkness. Yeah, maybe. I was one of the druids.
Yeah, so Matt here says that you had like an AJ Styles / Undertaker entrance.
Yeah, I kind of want to do a little bit of both. Ministry, Undertaker, but have that little AJ Styles in there, that just right in there.
Yeah, so first of all, so Matt, I just want to say, how are you, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's just another beautiful day up here in Washington. I know that was it still hot down there in Texas where you're at?
Yeah, it's always hot. Don't say still because still implies that at some point it's not hot. It's always hot. So just assume.
Yeah, I'll assume. But it's nice up here. We're starting to feel, maybe a little bit of a heat, but we're starting to cool down just a little.
Right. Also, the other thing, since Matt said the AJ Styles Undertaker entrance, when AJ Styles debuted at the Royal Rumble a couple years ago, what was your shock factor from 1 to 10? And then also, based off of that shock factor, what was your pop from 1 to 10? How much did you
Oh,
pop?
I was a 10 on both, because you got to think AJ Styles, lifelong TNA, wrestler, from its, basically its grassroots to being the foundation, the house that was built around him, and seeing that company grow to where it went, to then, not be under contract with them, and leaves to go
Right.
to a brand new place. Maybe he was there, very early during, a late, the run of the invasion, but was so unknown at that time that we didn't see him, and
Uh-huh.
and even made an appearance in WCW for a cup of coffee before it went out of business. But
Right.
this was now someone that was more established, and everyone knew his name. He, going to Japan, and being a member of Bullet Club for, run for a little while, until Kenny Omega took his spot and took that off on on a wild tangent. But this was a great way to bring him into the fold, into WWE. And not one, how better than the 30-man Royal Rumble?
Right. That was cool. Side note, I popped a 10 on that just because I didn't know. I mean, obviously, you heard the rumors about AJ Styles showing up the Royal Rumble, but Royal Rumble season pulls a lot of rumors about wrestlers debuting and all that stuff. Are you hiding a drink from us right now or what?
Yeah, I'm hiding a little orange, little
Okay.
Coke.
So
But
here we
I
go. Let's jump
before
into the storyline tonight. Matt's
before
eager to get this bad boy going. So
before I get going, I need to do this because last time we kind of went way overboard by going 2 hours. So I kind of need to do this. I solemnly swear not to go over 2 hours on this episode. I will try to keep this short, keep this shorter than 2 hours. I
right.
promise. So I feel like I kind of need to do that just to add a little more, praise to this because we're going to try to keep this under 2. Because even though last time we were having fun with it, it was still, a little over.
Right.
But
So first of all, for those that are watching or listening and don't know kind of what we're doing here at the Flex Network with the Snowman, we are going through the top 15 storylines of all time, a list that the Snowman himself here has created and come up with, very detailed list with promos included and matches included and pay-per-views included, all of those things. And so tonight we're working on number 12. We started at 15 and now we're up to 12. Last week we were talking about Triple H as the main eventer, and tonight we're talking about the summer of 97. So the
oh,
summer of 97 had a lot of things going on. And I think a lot of wrestling fans, if you have been watching wrestling for a long time, or you maybe fell out of it and you were watching wrestling in the 90s and early 2000s and you're just now working your way back, this might drag out a little bit of nostalgia for you. So we're here to bring that. I'm gonna talk a lot less than the Snowman here. He's the guy. He knows. He's got the knowledge. He's got the memory. He's recapped it all. He knows what's going on. I've done my homework, obviously, so that I could be part of the conversation. But I am not the star attraction here. So what do you say, Snowy? We just hop into this real quick.
oh
So
yeah.
the summer of 97. Let's get
And,
it rolling.
oh yeah, we're going to be talking about the summer of 97 from August of SummerSlam all the way through to October, the start of fall, and the early beginnings of, well, a certain structure, if you may add, that had some bad blood. But to paint this little picture even more, is that during this summer, during this, like going into summer, the United States and Canada, at least in the wrestling world at this time, we were in war. We were having a border war, if you may add, between Canada and the United States. And I know some of you are going to be going, what the heck? What was going on between the U.S. and Canada at this time? Well, we had Bret the Hitman Hart, who at WrestleMania in March in the spring, and Stone Cold Steve Austin do a double switch in the wrestling business where Bret was now going to be viewed and seen as this person we hate to get behind. We don't want to support him. And Austin going off on his starting to build on his bad boy-ish ways, but everyone loved his renegade style, his bad boy, the buck the system to spit in the face of authority. So that was starting. That was the root. But at this time, Bret is being viewed as this anti-hero, this, someone that he stands for moral values, but is being viewed as, we don't care about moral values anymore. We care about, giving the bird and spit in the face of authority. So
Right. Hey, real quick
yes.
before you get going on that, I just wanted to say something about this whole U.S. and Canada thing. Is um, in the wrestling industry, the United States and Canada both kind of together stake claim of saying we have over the past generations and past centuries and stuff, we have the best wrestlers in the world, right? So
Mm-hmm.
obviously the United States has thrown a lot more things at the board as far as wrestlers go because we've just had so much more. But Canada has produced some very good wrestlers,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of Canadian wrestlers. We're talking Chris Jericho, a guy like Jinder Mahal right now, who may a lot of people may not know this, but he is of Indian descent, but he learned to wrestle in Canada. And so he's respected among the Canadian wrestlers. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously you have the Hart dynasty, Owen Hart, Bret Hart, you have
The heart,
Natalia.
the whole
Um,
Hart family,
yeah, the
basically.
entire Hart family. You have guys like Lance Storm, like Snow. Who am I forgetting?
Someone that people will never. I don't think everyone will ever mention again, but I'm not afraid to say it because I was a fan of his. The Crippler, Chris Benoit, the
I
Rabid
mean, yeah.
Wolverine,
So he kind of
Trish,
has like obviously, yeah, Trish Stratus for sure.
Trish, the
Um,
Dish,
Edge, right? Edge is
Edge,
Canadian.
Christian,
Yeah. So like obviously those guys, right?
uh,
But
Petey
but
Williams,
I
the
I
Canadian
just I
Destroyer.
just I just want to say one thing. If you are watching this right now and you're a wrestling fan and you follow us week to week, or if you're listening to it and you follow us week to week, you're downloading our podcast, you're doing all of those things.
You're
We
watching
have
us on YouTube.
we have something in store for our wrestling fans. We have a prize. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. When I get confirmation, I will let you know what that prize is specifically. But
We
right
gotta
now,
get
but
from the higher ups. You know.
yeah, but right now I will say that we have a prize and it is a very nice prize. And this is the way it's going to work. During the Royal Rumble, I believe we're going to do a raffle. Royal Rumble is when, Snow? How
we
long do
we
I
got
have?
we got time. It's
Yeah.
only September. We have it till January.
Okay. So I'm getting the word right now that we can say it. So
Okay. Breaking
yeah,
news.
yeah. So we have an autographed Bret Hart picture. Um I don't I have it on my phone. I don't have a way to show it on the screen here. But regardless, we have an autographed Bret Hart picture. It's very nice. Um and it's going to go to the winner, who is able to. First of all, you have to qualify for our Royal Rumble contest here, right? So you
And how
have
do
to.
you qualify?
So you have to do a few things. Snow, you're on another level right now, dude.
I
Um,
might as well just be, the commercial that's how do you acquire this, item? How do you qualify?
Um, so right now we're still in discussions on the exact things we need to do on how to qualify. But I'll just tell you this: I'll tell you that um, you have to do things to help out the Flex Network. And what I mean by that is you have to be following us on all social media platforms. You have to be subscribing on whatever podcast platform you're using. And if it's a thing like Apple iTunes, then you have to subscribe on there. You have to give us a 5-star rating and you have to give us a review that tells us how cool you think we are. All of those things, right? So it's going to be things along those lines. You have to be present. You have to be commenting on our stuff. You have to recommend friends to like our pages on social media, follow our pages on social media. You
And
have
YouTube.
to and YouTube. You have to be subscribing to our stuff. And trust me, you can't just shoot us a text or shoot us a tweet or a direct message or something and say, "Oh, I did all those things." We will be doing our homework. Okay, so
Mhm.
if you want to win this
We will
Bret
be
Hart,
watching.
yes, we're like the IRS. We will be watching you. Okay, so if you owe the IRS money,
No.
we're like student. We're like student loans, okay? You cannot get away from us. We will always hunt you down. We're coming for you. So all I'm gonna say now, more details to follow, but I'll
Yeah.
just say that we have some things that
In the works.
we're gonna have very specific things that you have to do in order to qualify. But the way that it works is once you do all of those things, you've now put yourself into the pool and you can qualify. And so once you have qualified, then you have the opportunity to pick the winner of the Royal Rumble. Okay.
Ooh.
So let's say the Snowman picks Terry Funk. Stupid one, because Terry Funk obviously will not be there and obviously will not win. And I pick a guy like, I don't know, Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns. I probably have a much higher chance at winning, considering both of those guys are active wrestlers within the WWE right now.
How about
And
this? How
so,
about we just make it so where you don't pick a legend, you pick someone on the current active roster that you think is going to be in the Royal Rumble and is going to actually have a shot at a title match at WrestleMania. Not like a legend that's going to come in and maybe be, oh, nostalgic feel. Boom, we see him. But someone that's going to be in the Rumble and you think has a legitimate shot at
right.
winning.
Right. And so these things aren't for sure yet. They're still up in the air. But I'll just say
But
that
we have
that's what
time
the
to work
prize
this
is.
out.
That's what the prize is. We have some time to work it out. And Snow, the reason you got Terry Funk was because I needed to.
You
Okay.
just saw the
So hold on.
first
Here
person.
we go. Here we go. Here we go. I got a comment right here that explains it all. Matt, one of the with myself and Matt and I are the co-founders of the Flex Network. So Matt is telling us exactly what we need to do. So you get an entry into the Royal Rumble, and your entry gets randomized and attached to an entry spot.
So
So
basically, you'll be entered in a pool. You'll Everything will be randomized, and you'll get
yes.
assigned a
So
number.
yeah,
So
so Matt follows it up and says, then whoever wins wins. It's all random. Totally fair.
so
Totally makes sense. Okay.
yeah,
So
so
but you
you'll
have to
get a
do
number in the Rumble.
right. So you have to do all of those things that I mentioned: subscribing to stuff, liking stuff, following stuff, recommending us to your friends, your Facebook friends. We're trying to grow our overall following on Facebook. Twitter's doing well. We need Facebook to catch up and do all those things. We're doing well. We got a lot of content going out where
We're
it seems
we're
like we're
we're
dropping a
growing.
podcast. We're dropping a podcast every day of the week, it seems like. So we're gonna be doing, we're doing our thing right here. Okay. We're dropping good content in our opinion, and we think we're doing some good things here. But Snowman, it is time. Let's do this. The summer of '97. Let's go.
All right. So again, during this time. Bret Hart is, you know, in this border war with, he's very pro Canadian, very not pro US, saying how our morals are wrong, how we treat our heroes is wrong, and that we should be, cheering for Bret Hart and how he wrestles and how he is for, sportsmanship and everything. But yet he goes to Canada and is cheered like a hero that just came back from the war. Like, oh, we've missed you. You're our hero. It's so weird that he could come and, he'll step off the plane in Canada, get cheered like God, and then come right back and step across to like Pittsburgh or New York and is booed out the building because we don't like him anymore. This is how crazy this time was in 97. So right around this time, Brett is not the champion. He's reformed the Hart Foundation with his brother, Owen, his brother-in-law, the British Bulldog. They've added an insane person by the name of Brian Pillman, a very loose cannon kind of guy.
Right.
So, and this was a group that held not only, at this time period, the Intercontinental Championship, the European Championship, but they also held the tag team titles. And at one point later, as we get into this, I'll save that for a little later. But so we're gonna start this whole thing actually, and I'm forgetting someone. I'm forgetting the Undertaker at this point because Undertaker is a main part of this, starting this role because he is the World Wrestling Federation champion at this time. He is being, well, I want to say, say haunted by past demons, by past relatives, if you might say, because Paul Bearer has been, stalking the Undertaker to get him to become, saying he wants to join him again, to be by his side, and then gets like no, just denied because of his betrayal from a couple of episodes ago when we talked about the Mankind and Undertaker saga. That whole situation played effect to where, you know, Paul Bear is now forcing the Undertaker to join him again, or I will reveal a secret of you from your past.
Right.
But that plan goes awry, and Paul Bear reveals a secret, a very dark past secret that when he was a young child, he his mother and father ran a funeral parlor. They handled the business and they hired this gentleman of Paul Bearer as to help with the embalming and all that stuff in the funeral parlor. And these two parents had two boys. And one day this funeral parlor caught fire. It burned to the ground. The only survivor was the Undertaker. But what we now know is that the second brother, Kane, is alive and he's coming for his brother. And now that we know that who did this, who did the fire, who set the fire to the funeral parlor was none other than the Undertaker. So this whole thing, around this time surrounding the Undertaker is he's the champion, he's the man, but yet he's being held, he's still struggling with past demons. But as we get further along into 97, it will start to flourish because this is how we're going to start. We're going to start in July 7th, 1997, and we're going to start in Canada, this whole thing for this
Edmonton,
episode.
Alberta, Canada.
Yes, the night after the In Your House Calgary Stampede pay-per-view, which there was a 10-man tag team match with the Hart Foundation, all five members, Brett, Owen, Davy Boy, the British Bulldog, and Brian Pillman taking on Austin, Goldust, LOD, and the world's most dangerous men, Ken Shamrock. That's a name you haven't heard for a while.
Right. So
So
Matt here is jumping on, and one of our commenters, he's saying, when we found out that the Undertaker had a brother and Undertaker burned down the building with his brother inside, literally rocked my world watching that unfold.
oh yeah, because you don't think, as we've seen the Undertaker grow before our eyes in the WWE, from his debut to winning the WWF title from Hulk Hogan to all these transformations into where he's at after at around WrestleMania 13, and then a few months after defending the title against Farouk, against Mankind again, uh, and just having everything come crashing down about what we know about the Undertaker, and to know that he has a brother, he killed his parents, and we thought he killed his brother. He thought he killed his own brother in this fire, to find
Right.
out he's been living and
Right.
secluded. And Paul Bear knows this.
Okay, so that's a little bit of the Undertaker's dark past kind of coming back and resurfacing and like being thrown in his face. But let's fast forward to like present time. So
Yeah.
present time is um the summer of 97, obviously. We're on Raw, July 27th, 1997, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So we have Bret Hart being announced as the number one contender, right, for the WWF Championship.
Correct. They start off the night, literally, open Raw. Vince McMahon, says, "Here, please welcome Bret Hart," and they conduct an interview in the ring, and where Vince McMahon, who's still the announcer at this time,
Right.
great announcer at that time, announced that at SummerSlam, Bret Hart will wrestle for the World Wrestling Federation Championship at SummerSlam against The Undertaker. And and Bret Hart's family, you know what? I'm in Edmonton. It's like, I feel I have a duty as a Canadian, as someone who, everyone is looking up to here in Canada, that I need to make a promise that if I cannot defeat The Undertaker at SummerSlam, if I cannot pin or make him submit, if I cannot get the the WWF Championship and bring it to me, if I cannot be the champion, then I will never wrestle on United States soil ever again.
Which is basically like the closest thing to saying I'll quit if I don't win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if you think about it, what 99% of at this time 99% of wrestling shows, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, or pay per views, was on American soil.
Yeah, because you got to think, a lot of the big names in big cities in Canada was like Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Victoria. There was not as many venues up there in Canada that WWE wouldn't be going to a whole lot, and just those names, they would be going. Those are the only cities that they'd be going to for like big shows, the Raws, the pay per views, you know, and maybe some house shows. But other than that, everything was south. Everything was in the United States. So this was a, kind of a gamble for Bret, because he knows if he can't beat The Undertaker on US soil for the title, then he has no business wrestling in the United States, period.
Right. Okay. So after that, Bret Hart makes that claim, and then we have Paul Bearer here who continues to promote and cut these promos where he's constantly talking about the Undertaker being a murderer. Right.
Yeah, basically, we don't really, we're still not at this time. Undertaker's not being seen on TV after King of the Ring, and after Calgary Stampede. He just had a title defense against Vader, and he won. So now it's just Paul Bear coming out on like the Titantron on this night, and basically still proclaiming that Undertaker is a murderer. You're a murderer, Undertaker, and just keep, hammering that Kane is on his way. He's keeping Kane in the back of Undertaker in our minds, basically. And it's very intriguing to this.
Right. Okay. So let's move on from there. So next we go to Raw, July 24th, 1997, live in San Antonio, Texas. And now we have the Hart Foundation in the middle of the ring, and
Oh,
they're cutting a promo
mhm. The
um
US.
about the US, but it's about the US, but it's also about their SummerSlam matches that are to be followed.
Yeah. So if you go back and watch like these two episodes, just I want these moments to like understand. I want you guys to understand. Watch the Raw in Canada, and when Bret Hart comes out, he's cheered. Everyone's, happy and everything. But the next Raw, they're in San Antonio, Texas, and you can hear the place boo, waving US flags. It's just it's just so intriguing of how different Raw is week to week, especially in 97 when you have this border war. Because Brett's being booed in San Antonio, Texas, but yet the week before he was given a hero's cheer.
Right. And just so our listeners know, they're in the middle of the ring cutting this promo. They're being booed.
Out the
Which
building.
Yeah, completely out of the building, which is literally the polar opposite from the week before, because the week before they were in Canada, and Canada, they're just getting just like these crazy pops because, hometown people, all that good
Home
stuff, right?
country,
Home
and
country.
waving Canadian flags.
Yeah. So some of the matches that, just for our listeners here, so they know what matches are taking place at this current time, you're having the WWF Intercontinental Championship match between
Oh, Owen and
Owen Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then you
yeah.
have the WWF European Championship match between Ken Shamrock and the British Bulldog. Who's Kevin, by the way? I have no idea. I don't know what the heck I
Now
was talking about.
you're thinking of Kevin Owens probably, but
Yeah.
they're going to be cutting a promo on each of their individual matches at SummerSlam, to
Right.
where Brett's going to cut, is talking about his match against the Undertaker. He's going to, and then we get to Owen, how he's going to be, if Austin can't beat Owen Hart for the Intercontinental Championship, then Austin's going to kiss his ass in the middle of the ring at SummerSlam.
Right.
And then you got British Bulldog, who's talking about his European title defense against the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock.
And then you
And
have
if he cannot beat Ken Shamrock, he will eat a can of dog food immediately following the match.
and then you have
That's a weird one to be thrown out.
right. You have Brian Pillman versus Goldust, right?
And uh if Brian Pillman cannot defeat Goldust, then the next night on Raw, he will wear one of Marlena's dresses
Oh,
to wrestle in.
that's a lot of
So,
leg hair.
so yeah, especially for Brian Pillman, who is the loose cannon. But
Right.
again, these are, the Hart Foundation at this time was, in so many individual matches, at this time, to where they could still pull together and go at, help each other. But the only person left that didn't have a match at SummerSlam was a
Jim
certain
Neidhart.
Jim the Anvil
Yeah.
Neidhart. And
Right.
his role is that, well, he was more of the muscle, but on that Raw, he basically said, and I quote, if any member of the Hart Foundation does not win their match, I will shave the goatee.
Which is
So
like,
he
maybe some people think that
iconic.
that's not big, that it's not that big of a deal, but the Jim the Anvil Neidhart goatee is the most iconic goatee in the WWE/WWF history, dude. I mean,
Uh-huh.
like, he would be in a ring and like Vince would have the microphone right there and he'd be cutting a promo and he's doing this whole thing right here. He's massaging that goatee. He's stroking that goatee. That's part of his shtick, that's his thing. And he's got that maniacal laugh, dude. And like,
That
yeah,
psychotic-ish look of
yeah, right.
yeah. So after they're done, cutting their talk about their matches at SummerSlam, Brett, has already stated, I want to say a week before, maybe like on a non-televised, a non like Raw show, that he has issued a challenge to the Americans wrestlers that for a good old 6-man tag flag match for that night. And for those of you who don't know what a flag match is, it's basically the first team or the first person to grab their flag, because they're going to be on the corners of the ring on poles. You have to climb up and grab your flag. So like the flag that's right behind me on the rocks, I would have to climb up and
Oh, you
grab.
mean this big flag that's right behind me? You've
Well,
got the
yours
baby
is
ver-
flat. Mine's actually like hanging off to the side.
Oh
So,
yeah, mine's
but
mounted to the wall. So
so but you have to grab your country's flag in order for your team to win. It's a
Right.
regular wrestling match, but so it's going to be Owen Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart, and the British Bulldog against three unknown people because no one has stepped up yet. Well, we get our first response, our first acceptance from the American side, and it's a little bit of a Stone Cold response, as in Stone Cold has accepted and will join Team USA for the flag match later that night because he wants his. He's still pissed off at Brett. He's still pissed off at Owen. He's still pissed off at everyone in the Hart Foundation
So
for
can
all
can
their
we
appearances.
can we say something? Has Stone Cold ever not been pissed off? I just feel like he was permanently pissed off for his whole career.
Yeah, he's never been that happy guy.
And still
Unless
today, when he's not wrestling, I feel like he's still mad about something.
Well, if you saw his show, what was it? It's on USA Network. I know the show. I just can't think of the title off the top of my head. But he there's a promo with Sal from Improv
Impractical Jokers.
Impractical Jokers. Thank you. Yeah. And it's like, what do I call you? It's like, call me Steve. Because if you call me Stone Cold, I have the instant reflex to drop you with a stunner on your stack of dime neck.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't call him Stone Cold because he's gonna stun you. But if you call him Steve, it's like, okay, we're gonna have a beer together. So
right.
But so we get our first, person to join Team USA. And as the night progresses, we get our second person. And it's going to be a very show-stopping person because it's going to be the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, as he's cutting his promo because he's coming, he's returning after I want to say a month of absence, due to some backstage stuff that was going on between him and the Hitman. In a way that that rivalry was still in hiatus / being built from WrestleMania 12 the previous year, and it's still getting jabbed at like we want more as we get along in 97 to the infamous screw job in Montreal. Right. So around this time, HBK is now, just he comes out and cuts a promo with, Vince out there holding the mic. He's like, you know what? I have some very fond memories of Canada. I've got, on Christmas morning, I was given little army guy, Canadian army guys, and they all came out like this. They came out surrendering and basically just throwing jokes. He was throwing shade at him and just more jokes. And he's even saying he wants to be a part of SummerSlam. Even if it's to sell tickets at the door, if he to sell merchandise, to the fans in the stands, or to sell popcorn, or even to shine Vince's shoes because he has to ask the he's asking the WWF official in Vince McMahon, who's being not the owner at this time because he's the commentator.
Right.
So,
okay. All right. So let's so from there, HBK runs his promo. He says, I'll do whatever it takes to get to SummerSlam, get on the show, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Right. So let's move forward. Right. So now we transition to the next Monday Night Raw, which is July 21st, 1997 in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're moving. So on Monday Night Raw, we're moving. The Hart Foundation is cutting a promo about the, United States once again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yep.
basically he's basically saying that the United States is shaped like a toilet bowl, which means they're full of crap, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, how have you not noticed that the United States of America is shaped like one big toilet? It's because they are full of crap. That was his joke. It's like just being very pro Canadian and very pro anti US. And that was just some great, work with Bret Hart. And
Right.
uh and I have to correct myself because the flag match was in the next Raw was on the July 21st.
Yeah.
This was just getting a lot of promo. The past Raw was just promos to build for for SummerSlam
Yeah,
and
so this was the actual night
flag
that
of the flag
Stone
match.
Cold, yeah, of the flag match that Stone Cold Steve Austin had joined in
Mm-hmm.
and
And
and one
Heartbreak
was
and
basically mad
HBK.
at everyone and yeah, so but that's okay. So we'll keep it
Yeah.
moving here what we got.
Yeah.
So Stone Cold answers the challenge like we talked about. He joins Team USA for the 6-man flag match. HBK um comes to the ring to cut a promo about Canada, right? He, like
Yep.
you
Of
said,
how
the army toy figures with his hands up, surrendering. HBK is like one of the funniest dudes ever.
I loved HBK. I loved him when he was in the WWE, and then when he left, and then he came back. Oh, I couldn't get enough of it. It was just too funny. So Sean, does another joke of, do you know why the United States doesn't fall into the ocean? Because Canada sucks.
I don't know how that pertains to the United States falling in the ocean, but I mean,
Or sorry,
sure.
how does the US keep from falling into the ocean? Because Canada sucks. And so he joins the flag match,
Right.
but now he's going to be like, oh wait a minute, JR's thinking that's he's announcing that he's coming back for the flag match tonight. It's like, oh no, you thought that was it? You gotta know me better than that. So cuts another promo where he's like, so I had to go to the head of the World Wrestling Federation, Vince McMahon, nonchalantly just looks at him like,
Right.
really, at the announce table, and it's like, I wanted to be a part of SummerSlam. I wanted to sell tickets, but that job was taken. I wanted to sell merchandise, but that job was taken. I wanted to sell food at the concession stand, but that job was taken. So the head of the World Wrestling Federation, Vince McMahon, not saying it, but said that the only position to fill is a referee's job. So I'm going to be a special guest referee. Well, where's Sean? Well, what match are you going to wrestle? Are you going to referee at SummerSlam? Well, you got your bomb, the opening card. You got the middle of the card. You got the top of the card. And then you've got the main event. And I only work one match. And that's the main event. So I'm going to referee the World Wrestling Federation Championship match between The Undertaker and Bret Hart. And if when you watch this, you see Bret, he has little Canadian flags. He just waving like with the shittiest eating grin. Love, really, if you're gonna screw Bret Hart in this way, you gotta make it more obvious. Like, so as like, but the World Wrestling Federation officials have informed me that if I sway to the Undertaker's side, if I do not call this match down the middle, then I too cannot ever wrestle in the United States again. And I will have to move up here and live with you Canucks up here in Canada. And just continues to like play to the Canadian fans of like, maybe I'll stay up here and move and get a house right next to the Hitman.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. You get a little bit of universal health care and
Yeah.
I don't know if like
And
weed's legal
hockey.
there and you get hockey whenever you want it. Lacrosse is the national sport of Canada, so like, I mean, you could just, I mean,
Get some good Tim Hortons coffee and get some
yeah,
great
dude.
donuts.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of good things going on in Canada right now. Canada, I mean, the Canadian people, in Seattle, we used to live, we went to the same high school, Snow. We,
Mhm.
graduated a year or two after each other. So like it's not a big deal.
Mhm.
We've been to Vancouver. The Vancouver Canadian people are very nice, very polite.
Mhm.
So living in Canada wouldn't be the worst thing, but for an
No.
American to have to kind of turn his back on America and go to Canada, I could understand why an American would think that is not a good thing. So,
Oh yeah. So
man,
yeah, it closing basically is just basically telling, Sean's telling everyone's like, you know, Brett, buddy, pal of mine, if you can't trust Shawn Michaels, who can you trust? It just
right,
leaves. Watching that whole promo of Shawn announcing he's going to be in the flag match and is going to be the special guest referee at SummerSlam for the title. Oh, it just took the cake for this whole thing. It was like
right. So then we get so
to
the next thing we get, I got it right here.
well,
We get
well,
Bret
actually,
Hart, right, with
yep.
Owen and and Bulldog, British Bulldog, and they come out and they get in Vince's face about
Oh yeah,
HBK being involved in this match at all, even as a ref or anything. They're just not happy that he's involved, right? So they're in his face about it.
yeah. I mean, they come out during Hunters and the Patriots match. While they're calling the match, and Brett gets in Vince's face, basically saying, why is Shawn in my match? He has no right to be in this match, even as a referee. I mean, he's not gonna. This is pure bullshit. That this is gonna be a screw job for me, and just kept, whining and complaining. He leaves for a moment, then comes back. It's like, and you could see in Vince's eyes, he's like, okay, we're trying to call this match here. You need to go. You know, like you need to leave. If you're going to continue getting in my face, we're going to have problems. So more officials come, pull him away. He goes back, and Vince does the hockey jersey, fight, pulls the shirt over. It's like just, they start
Oh,
getting
he
into
he
it.
he pulls the jersey over and he
Well,
starts
his
throwing the
shirt.
uppercuts. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
just
I'm
like,
saying that,
just,
but that's what the hockey
yeah.
thing is.
Yeah.
They pull the shirt over and they start delivering the mean uppercuts. Yeah,
Yeah, because Brett comes back and just smacks the headset off like it was nothing.
right.
It and they proceed to fight because Brett is pissed about this whole Shawn Michaels being the referee situation, and it's not fair for him to get a fair shake, especially where it's going to be in Newark, New Jersey, in the United States. So this is basically him being viewed as, I'm getting the screw job here, and
Right.
it's not fair.
Okay, so let's move to the other side of, the other storyline that's kind of taking place at this time, which is the whole Paul Bear Undertaker situation, right? So we have Paul Bear who's just continuing to cut these promos about Kane being alive, and he shows an artifact um that shows that both Kane and Undertaker um split, and it shows Kane's half of a statue. It's a Grim Reaper type thing,
Yeah.
right?
So Paul Bear's, continuing this, saga of trying to, saying that Kane's alive. And well, he has proof of Kane's alive, in which that when Undertaker and Kane were children, they had a little figurine, a statue, if you may, of that they split in half, and they each kept a part of it, so that, you know, kind of like one of those mementos. You keep, I give you one, you keep, and I keep the other half. And
Yeah, I got it right
where,
here. Let me show you a perfect example, right? This thing right
yeah,
here. Me and
That's a
my
perfectly example right there.
for our listening crowd only, it's a like a it's half a heart. It's a moon shaped type thing. My wife has the other necklace, just so you know. It's
Yeah.
Snow.
So
Snow, tell the listeners you do not have the other half. Snow, the snowman does not have the other half to this necklace that is half of a heart.
no,
Okay.
no.
Our my buddy Matt also does not have the other half. My wife has the other half, just so everyone knows. Anyway, go
Like
ahead.
so, and the figurine is a statue of the Grim Reaper, and Paul Bear just it's like here is Kane's half, and it's charred, it's burnt, like something from a fire, and just to like see, I have proof that Kane's alive, and JR is not buying it. It's like, when are we going to see Kane? When is Kane coming? It's like, you don't want to see Kane. You don't want to see Kane. Don't push me. Don't push me, Kane. I will, you know, just don't be pushing on Paul Bear because he will prove, he'll have the proof eventually. But
Right.
that's the whole thing with Undertaker. So, and as we're getting closer to this flag match, we know that, well, earlier, a little bit earlier before this, Dude Love accepted and joined Team USA. So we have our three US representatives, Stone Cold, Dude Love, and Shawn Michaels versus the Hart Foundation of Davey Boy, Owen, and Brett.
Right. So
What?
we transition as the show goes on and we prepare for that match. We see that HBK is attacked before
Mhm.
that flag match. Who attacked HBK?
Well, as we don't really know who attacked him because we get, oh, well, there's a commotion in the back, in the back. We have our cameras there. It's like, and you see Sean, on the floor, starting to get picked up by some of the officials. It's like, get away from me. It's like, this is bullshit, McMahon, I'm getting attacked and everything. But if you watch, it's like, okay, you feel like it's the Hart Foundation. It's Bret Hart. He's still pissed for having Shawn in his match at SummerSlam. So it's not one of those like we don't know kind of secrets. It's one of those we kind of know what happens, things. So now we have a vacant spot on Team USA and we get to the match. We start the match with the Hart Foundation in the ring. Dude Love's come out, Austin's come out, and they start the fight in the ring. And the match itself was great. It was one of those matches where something you wanted to watch because of everything that's going into this rivalry with Austin, with Dude Love, taking the tag team titles from Bulldog and Owen, a while back. And it just everything building. So it's just something we wanted to watch. But as we're heading to a commercial break and everything's, going the Hart's way, we hear a familiar gong. And as we cut to break, you hear Undertaker's music. And when we come back, we see the third man who joins Team USA in the flag match in The Undertaker. And if you get a chance, when you get a chance to watch this, watch it all the way through. It's a great match. So, and unfortunately for the US, Team Canada wins due to Brian Pillman's interference in allowing Owen Hart to get to get the flag.
Right.
And that's how we end that the final Raw before SummerSlam.
Okay, so let's move on to SummerSlam. So we're at August 3rd, 1997, East Rutherford, New Jersey, on American soil. We have the WWF Championship match. The Undertaker versus Bret the Hitman Hart with the special ref HBK Shawn Michaels. And if Bret Hart doesn't win the WWF Championship, he will never wrestle in the United States again. And if HBK shows any favoritism towards The Undertaker, then HBK will never wrestle in the United States again, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
All
that
right.
is correct. And the I want to say the tagline for this SummerSlam was heart and soul. So this
Heart
was
and
a
soul.
heart and soul with if you see the pay-per-view poster, you could see Brett just stand there and then you see, him surrounded with, the purple fog, the haze, and Undertaker's glove. It's a great pay-per-view to watch. From the beginning with Austin, even though he got his neck broken on that botched pile driver to hit to all the way through to the title match. This was a great match, a very great technical wrestling match for a Bret Hart who's not exactly playing by, the established rules now and bending it a lot more to ha- you know, just to see how he has changed his wrestling style of this not very well following the rules, but more doing anything necessary to be the champion.
Right. Okay. So now we're in this match, right?
Mhm.
We've got the Undertaker versus Bret Hart, right? This
Yep.
match is going down. We got Shawn Michaels as the referee. So tell me, how's this match going? How's Shawn Michaels handling this match as the official?
Shawn actually has refereed this match down the middle. He's not favoring anybody. You don't see him, he's not favoring Bret Hart. He's not favoring Undertaker. He's like, one, two, three, four, four counts outside. It's like, hey, get him back in the ring, break it off at the four. So otherwise I'm going to disqualify you. Basically, he's being a referee and he's being a damn good referee. And we get some, I'm not going to say interference, you know, but it's more like presence. We get a presence of Paul Bear appearing, just to scope out what's going on with the Undertaker. But eventually, maybe like a little bit into it, he gets beat up and shipped out during the match. And a little bit later, we get an appearance from Brian Pillman and Owen Hart. And they're trying, they want to watch to see what's going on. They're intrigued. But again, Undertaker beats him to the punch and starts beating up on them. And Shawn Michaels, it's like, hey, you guys got to get out of here. Go. And while Undertaker has Brett pinned, Shawn's busy with Owen and Pillman trying to get them out of Dodge. Doesn't see the pin. And basically, he's doing his job. Undertaker may not have liked what was happening, with Shawn not coming in and making the count, but he was doing his job. He was preventing any interference. So this was a great match, bar none. If you're a fan of Undertaker, if you're a fan of Bret Hart, watch this match and you'll get to see we're going to actually start to see at the end of this match. Brett uses a steel chair, tried to steal the WWF title. Well, Undertaker kicks out. He uses the chair, he kicks out. Brett has already tried to get rid of the evidence. Shawn sees the chair. It's like, did you use this? Did you use this? And Brett, already fed up with the constant of Shawn Michaels just, being in his face and playing by the rules, trying to force him to play by the rules, finally has enough of Shawn and spits in his face. Just hawked up a big old loogie and spits in his face. Shawn's with the chair, pissed, decides to take a swing. But he doesn't hit Bret Hart. He hits, by accident, The Undertaker. And the look on Shawn Michaels' face when he hit The Undertaker with the chair is like, shit, shit, he cannot believe he just did that. And Brett makes the cover. 1, 2, 3. We have a new World Wrestling Federation champion for the 5th time, Brett the Hitman Hart.
Yeah,
And Brett
and
gets
and
booed out the building.
and Shawn Michaels immediately, as soon as he makes that 1, 2, 3, he jumps out of the ring and just immediately walks away because he's just disgusted with himself.
Yeah. I mean, he couldn't do anything. He had to make the call. He had to call it down the middle. If Brett made the pin, he had to call it. And he knew he just screwed Undertaker out of the title.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move to Monday Night Raw. The very next night, we have Raw, August 4th, 1997. HBK is cutting a promo about SummerSlam and gets told that at Ground Zero in your house, he will face the Undertaker, and um and
Yeah.
proceeds. Okay, go ahead with that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. This is where Shawn Michaels is now being told, he did his job. What more do you want from me? I didn't favor Brett. I didn't favor the Undertaker. I called it right down the middle, and everyone in the World Wrestling Federation is now dumping all this on me. I ain't liking this, and is basically being told by Vince in the ring. Well, now you're gonna have to pay. Undertaker wants a match with you, or you're going to be facing the Undertaker in your house at Ground Zero. And proceeds to be like, just to say, like, all right, the I said I was sorry. I admit it. I screwed up. But if you don't like what I'm doing, I don't give a damn about what you think of me anymore. It's I did what I had to do. I did my job. If you don't like it, forget you. It proceeds to just start to turn the knob for what he will become later. A
Right.
little bit more of a degenerate, if you will.
Yeah, so the Undertaker actually, hold on, I messed my spot up here. Okay, so the Undertaker actually is coming out at this moment, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he's cutting this promo, um and he gets interrupted by Paul Bearer, right? And Paul Bearer says that Kane is coming. Um
Kane's
and
coming.
and
Kane's
and
coming.
Yeah,
Kane's coming.
and as the Undertaker leaves, all of the lights are turning red.
Yeah. When Undertaker, his entrance is dark and purple, color feel. But as he's leaving, he doesn't get that. He gets red, a bright red feel. It's like, this is not my entrance. What's up with this?
Yeah, so he's
And
totally spooked out by that, obviously.
not really spooked, but more like, what? As fans, we're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, like he's
So,
confused more than anything else, it seems
yeah.
like. Um, okay, so
Uh,
from there we move on to Monday Night Raw, August 11th, 1997. HBK's promo tonight is Raw versus Mankind, which is his first match back since June. So
yeah.
Mankind's been out for about 90 days or so, right?
Yeah. He was out for a while with, due to some antics backstage. So he was not really on TV for like the Ground Zero. He was basically gone for after King of the Ring early a couple months ago. So this was his first match actually back. And he will be facing Mankind. And he, is still continuing to, be, wanting to have the fans like, you guys, you make your choice. If you're with me, That's cool. If you're against me, I don't care. But he even invites The Undertaker to come out and watch his match. But as he's, doing all this, he gets a visit from the new WWF commissioner in Sergeant Slaughter,
Okay, so Sergeant Slaughter's a WWF commissioner, and so
a
and
WWE Hall of Famer, a legend, the man with the biggest chin in the WWF.
right, a Bill Cower esque chin, some might say. Anyway, so let's see. He invites the Undertaker to watch him in his match and talks about the WWF commissioner Sergeant Slaughter, and he's basically saying that he's in need of a insurance
Insurance
policy, right?
policy. Yeah, if you're a follower of HBK in his career, you have seen he has had some insurance policies in ways of his first one being Big Daddy Cool Diesel, and then he had another one in the form of Big Sid Vicious.
Right.
So he has been known to have some great bodyguards, some insurance policies. Well, because of the position that The Undertaker and the World Wrestling Federation has put him in with face and taker and, being treated the way he's being treated, HBK feels like he needs an insurance policy.
So we get to the main event. We got Shawn Michaels versus Mankind. And then we quickly discover that Triple H in China and Ravishing Rick Rude are HBK's insurance policy.
Well, we get China and we get Triple H to come out first. They watch. They're at ringside because they're still in a rivalry with Mankind from the previous from SummerSlam in their steel cage match.
Right.
They're still having problems with each other because they don't like each other.
Yeah.
But as the match gets near its end, we see a returning Ravishing Rick Rude in full suit, suit and tie, coming down, and we don't know why he's there. But he makes his point clear when he grabs a steel chair and just waffle irons Mankind in the head. And we now know he's the insurance policy as we see HBK get the win in his match. And afterwards, we get to see an Undertaker come on down, wanting to get some of Shawn Michaels, but gets a little sidetracked with Paul Bearer again, and basically now saying to the Undertaker that Kane is coming and that Undertaker will burn in hell.
Right.
And that's how we end the Raw edition of the August 11th edition of Raw, is just this Paul Bearer burn saying to Undertaker, you'll burn in hell, and these flames just pop up on the screen.
Okay, so we finished that Raw off, and then we moved to Raw August 18th, 1997. It
Mm-hmm.
opens with Rick Rude cutting a promo. He's kicking off Raw with it, and he's saying that he's selling insurance policies, and
Yeah, he
and then
he
he's paid a nice dollar to do so.
yeah, he's been paid a very hefty sum, to be an insurance policy, officially paid it, because Vince McMahon, well, who paid that premium? And he just continues to make these little quotes of of how you need to have the money to make this, to have to pay for my service, or like a good Rude, I'm always there. And if you want to be in good hands, get Rude. It pays.
Right.
So he's just, sniping off these little one jabbers, to not fully answer the question of who paid his premium to be the
Right.
insurance
Okay.
for that night.
So from there we move to HBK's promo about SummerSlam's result and tonight's main event tag team match. Right.
Right. He, for the first time ever, it'll be Triple H and Shawn Michaels tag teaming against an unlikely duo that we will never have thought would have happened in Mankind and The Undertaker. Think about that. Mankind and The Undertaker tag teaming in 97, 1 year after the hell they put themselves through in the Boiler Room Brawl, the Buried Alive match, and just everything that they went through. They're now tag teaming together. This is
Yeah.
something no one would have ever thought. And they're still, like, okay, well, if you're going to be my partner, I don't forget and I don't forgive. If you cross me and, turn on me, I will finish you off.
Right. So okay. So we get into that match. We got the Undertaker and Mankind versus HBK and Triple H. Um. So who wins that match? How does it go?
That match ends in a disqualification thanks to HBK clocking, the Undertaker in the head with a chair and busting him open.
Not once, right? But
Not
twice.
once. After the first chair shot, you see Undertaker's busted open. And Sean's standing there like, okay, do I want to do it again? And he does it again. And Undertaker is just busted open like a stuffed pig, just bleeding.
Like
And
a
as
stuffed pig.
and he's knocked down, Undertaker sits back up, and everyone just turns tail and run as Taker's staggering to follow HBK and Rick Rude and Triple H and China, all of them out the door. And
Okay.
that's how we
So
the match was it was a it was an okay match. It it allowed for both Mankind and Undertaker to work together, but we also got to see the early beginnings of a certain degenerate group take form. And it was a good way to start it.
okay. So let's move to Friday night's main event, August 29th,
So
1997.
so between that Raw on the 18th, the following 2 weeks between then and Ground Zero, Raw was kind of on hiatus on the USA Network. They didn't have a Monday Night Raw as there was some other things going on the network at that time, like a dog show, I believe, 1 week and maybe something else. I'm not 100% sure. So Raw was on hiatus, and they had Friday night's main event, which was a recorded show, just played on Fridays. They had two of them for the next 2 weeks, where Sean's cutting a promo with about the his match with Undertaker at Ground Zero, and Undertaker again cuts another promo to face Shawn Michaels at Ground Zero. Following week, they Undertaker has a match with Triple H, uh, just to hold over to get to Ground Zero, and Shawn Michaels interferes. It hits him with a chair again, just to take it to Undertaker right before Ground Zero. So these 2 weeks was not really as important, but it was important for the story. And unfortunately, you're not going to find Friday night's main event on the network right now. You would kind of have to, YouTube it to watch, the promos that these two guys cut and the match itself between Triple H and Undertaker.
Right.
So
Okay.
now we get to ground zero in your house.
September 7th, 1997. We have Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, the number one contenders match for the WWF Championship. Okay.
Oh yes, this match. Unfortunately, this was not. We didn't necessarily, get the memo that this was a title match. I don't think, but it was eventually for the number one contendership. But if you want to talk about a barroom brawl, and we've said this a lot, there's a lot of matches that have been, serious riots and everything. This also takes the cake, in which they were throwing everything at each other. They even, before the match even started, they were fighting on the outside, knocking out the ref, to a point where he was out for a while. They had to get a new ref in to start the match with, thanks to Commissioner Slaughter. And they just kept fighting and fighting. And this was a great half an hour, style, match that you could sit there and be like, wow, how are these guys not killing each other any more than they are? But unfortunately, we do not get a clear cut winner, as this match was thrown out. It was a no decision, as they were knocking out referees left and right every so often, that on the final ref just decided ring the bell and no contest.
Right.
So we
Because
have
they
no
were
winner.
just, it was just like pure mayhem.
It was
Like,
crazy.
yeah, they were just fighting all over the place, and like it was getting real wild real quick.
To the point that they had to have officials, other, and superstars come out and pull these guys apart. And it didn't even work for that long, because Undertaker dove over the top rope and just cleared the house on Shawn
Right.
Michaels and these other wrestlers, that pulled Shawn apart from Undertaker, and had him was going up the ramp. And that's how ground zero ended, with no clear-cut winner on that night. And that was the first actual meeting between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, so so the ref comes out, and the ref says no contest, like I'm not getting knocked out like all these other refs have been getting knocked out. And so
After
so
after three
this
other refs get knocked out.
Right. And so the refs come in, or sorry, the superstars come in, and they're splitting these guys up, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
No contest, and that's it, right? So then we move on to September 8th, 1997, right?
Yes, the next night on Raw, in the ring, we get we get Undertaker. We haven't get him in the ring yet. We get the announcement for during like a view of the commentators. We get announced that because of no clear cut winner at Ground Zero, that at the next pay per view, Bad Blood in Your House, there will be a match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, one on one, inside a structure. A steel cage with a roof on the top, known as Hell in the Cell.
Bum bum bum.
Um, the first time ever we're gonna get the Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Ugh, that just gives you the chills, just to of how we got to this point, because of everything that has happened with SummerSlam, Ground Zero, and now we got to have a definitive match inside a brand new structure. Ugh, this is good. This is getting built up good.
Right. Okay. So the announcement for Hell in the Cell, and then we move on to Raw, September 15th, 1997. HBK is interviewing about attacking the British Bulldog from previous week and
Yeah.
about his Bad Blood Hell in a Cell match, right?
Yep. So the next couple weeks is basically after Ground Zero is basically just building up, with promos to talk about the Hell in a Cell. But for Shawn Michaels, 2 weeks after Ground Zero, he's kind of building his own matchup for a different pay per view. Something across the ocean in jolly old England, because he has done everything in the WWE. He has won every singles title. He's won the Intercontinental. He's won the tag team titles. He has won the WWF title. But the only title he has left on his resume to accomplish, to win, is the European Championship. And that was being held by the British Bulldog, Davy Boy Smith. And
So he's
now,
literally willing himself into that title match.
yes, but some of you will be looking at it like, well, we go from Ground Zero to Hell in a Cell, but now you're talking about Shawn going for the European title somewhere else. It's like, well, what's up? Well, during uh, on September 20th, the WWF traveled to the United Kingdom. They traveled to jolly old England, and they had a special UK pay-per-view called One Night Only. And there was a couple matches on their poster that was promoted. Some of it got changed, and one of the matches that happened was Shawn Michaels versus the British Bulldog for the WWF European Championship. And this was a great match to go watch. I encourage you guys to, if you find it on YouTube, find it, go watch it on the network. It's on there, the entire pay-per-view for the UK, as this was a UK event only, because it wasn't broadcast over here. We only heard, rumblings on the next Raw of, oh, what happened in England. But this match, I kind of want to say it enhanced the idea of Shawn and Triple H and China being a little bit more degenerates because of how they were acting and what they were doing in this matchup. And the result of this great match is that Shawn Michaels becomes the WWF European champion and becoming, at that time, the first Grand Slam champion, which means he has held every title that the WWF had at that time. He has held them all. European, Intercontinental, Tag Team, World title. He's held them all. This is a match you need to go see. It's not a part of the Taker storyline, but it's something that enhances Shawn Michaels a little bit more as we move along into a very infamous Raw on September 22nd in September, because this was a very special Raw in Madison Square Garden.
Right. So you
For
have
those of you who know the wrestling history, and may not be Vince McMahon.
right. So we start with an Undertaker promo, and there is an announcement that is made for the number one contenders match stipulation added to Bad Blood Hell in a Cell match, right?
Yep. Vince McMahon basically says Undertaker, with it being announced that, announcement was made that at Bad Blood in your match, it will be for the number one contenders matchup for the WWF title at the Survivor Series in November. And he continues to promote, the bad blood match, and everything of how we got to this point with, Shawn Michaels, and how how their encounters have been, how he needs to beat, and take Shawn Michaels' soul and beat him because of how this has gotten, especially with Hell in a Cell. And we get later in the show, Shawn Michaels cuts his own promo. So this whole build up was, was promos and everything. There wasn't a whole lot of matches. Maybe the two, but the promos itself was awesome just to watch.
Yeah, so there was like a lot of promos, they're building the hype for the pay-per-views that were on their way, and they were doing all that, and that's fine. So we get HBK comes out later in the show, cuts another promo. He basically calls out the Undertaker, which come to find out is just basically like a big trap. And
Yeah,
he,
he
he
gets
gets
the
it.
Undertaker to come out, and you could tell the Undertaker's like, he's like gets down to the bottom of the ramp. He's like looking behind him. He's like, okay, I know something's up, and he gets Triple H out. A busted up Triple H who had already faced a changing Dude Love into a Bang Bang Cactus Jack in their street fight earlier in that night. And after McMahon got stunned for the first time in the Garden.
Right.
So, and they just, another beat up of Undertaker and another steel chair assault with Undertaker. So it didn't go as planned for Taker to, counter the trap, if you may.
Right. So then we move on to Raw, September 29th, 1997. HBK and Triple H interview in the ring. And the WWF commissioner makes Triple H versus Undertaker match. And Hart Foundation comes out and tells HBK that he has more problems than just the Undertaker. And then we see a video package of the cell being created, right?
Yep. Sean and Hunter come out. Of course, they're still, teasing, not fully yet that they're Degeneration X, but they're still playing that, bunch of degenerates kind of thing. And he's still promoting the Hell in a Cell, the upcoming match next week, this coming Sunday. And Commissioner Slaughters comes out, makes the match for Triple H versus Undertaker later as the main event. But you get the Hart Foundation to come out, and they're still having problems with Brett's still having problems with Shawn. That will eventually lead up because of all their history. So it was still pulling multiple, areas to still keep people involved as we get closer and closer to Bad Blood and as we go along further.
Right. So we move to the main event of that Monday Night Raw, which was Undertaker versus Triple H, right?
Yes.
So explain that match a little bit.
So the Triple H versus Undertaker match. It was a great match to watch. It didn't add or didn't hinder anybody, but the match ends in disqualification thanks to Rick Rude coming out and knocking Taker out with the briefcase. Well, what's in that briefcase? Uh, Something no one really thought of. A body bag, perhaps. So Sean and Hunter and Triple H and China decide, oh, let's just put Undertaker in the body bag. They stuff him in there, they zip it up, and they're, oh yeah, we got him, being all happy that he's in this body bag until they turn around and see Undertaker just sit up in the body bag and just starts to rip apart. It's like, oh crap, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And they get out of Dodge. And that's how we're gonna end the final Raw going into Bad Blood in your house.
So yeah, that's Bad Blood in Your House, October 5th, 1997. We have Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell match for the first time ever. This is the debut of the Hell in a Cell match, right?
Yes.
Um,
And the even more funny thing, how did you get how do you like the names of these in your houses so far? You've got we've had the Calgary Stampede before SummerSlam. You had Ground Zero in September, and then in October you've got Bad Blood.
I
How
mean,
awesome are these, names for in your house?
they just scream Attitude Era at this point, right? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like if you were to pick up a list of names for pay-per-views or whatever, and they would say, "Oh, guess what the era of wrestling it is," just by the names, and I picked
Mhm.
this up, I would immediately know Attitude Era.
Or well, actually pre-Attitude Era, like we're stuck the stamar like the
Yeah, yeah,
beginnings.
yeah. We're at the start of it for sure.
Yeah. But so yes, we this is the first night of the incarnation of the Hell in a Cell. And to see that structure for the first time, wow.
And
I
so
mean,
this is this is
the way
also
that they
the
described it, the way that they described it is like a steel cage that surrounds the ring with a roof on top. Wow, you couldn't you thought it's like, okay, it's gonna be something closed by the ring, it's gonna with a roof on top, like, okay, but when you see it, wow.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
this is also correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this the number one contenders match for the WWF Championship at Survivor Series?
Yes, this was that stipulation was added to the 2 weeks before on the Raw episode, that the winner of this match would get a title shot, whoever the champion was, after Bad Blood at Survivor Series, whether it have been Bret Hart or the Patriot.
Right.
But we kind of figure who the champion's going to be after Bad Blood.
Right. So, okay, so we go into that match, and from what we see, kind of carry this match a little bit. I don't want to spoil it. I
This,
want your expertise.
this match took brutality at that point in 97 and rose it 3 notches. This was a match you never thought you would be able to see, everything that happened with, Sean is, getting out of the cage, being thrown to the cage like a javelin, being so bloody and going on top of the structure to be like scared off to like, okay, I'm getting down from here, and to get his finger stomped and crashing through the announce table with JR's incoming, incoming, or sorry, the King's incoming quote,
Right.
and to see Sean get destroyed with the steel chair that sounded like a shotgun going off.
Yeah, that was like the old school steel chairs we still had that just
Oh,
it sounded like if someone took a wiffle ball bat and just smacked your back with it, you just hear that wicked
oh,
smack sound.
and the dent that it left in there in that chair, whew, I
Right.
felt bad for the chair.
Right.
Just it looked like you just dropped a bowling ball on the chair and it left this big old dent head
Right.
shape into it. And it's the sound of it was just, good God, how's he not dead?
Okay, so I'm gonna
But
spoil it. I'm gonna spoil it real quick.
do
So
it.
we find out that HBK wins the match, right? But he wins the match in a very interesting way, and I'm gonna let you say this part. So HBK wins the match because
The it is the I don't know if I could say it like this because it's Vince McMahon's quote, but the lights go out as soon as the Undertaker is ready to deliver the tombstone. He's calling for it. and you see the lights just go out. And what you hear, some music, very heavyish music, and you see through fire rising through being lit up. You see a figure, and you hear Vince McMahon calling out, it's Kane. It's gotta be Kane. The Undertaker's brother has arrived, and he has ripped the door off the Hell in a Cell, gets in his brother's face, and Undertaker is looking like he just seen a dead ghost.
Right.
What the hell is going on? How are you alive? And Kane does his, trademark, the flames on the turnbuckle exploding, and you see Kane just tombstone his brother and walk out. As this, after he's walking out and leaving with Paul Bearer, all in excited giddiness, in the ring, you see Shawn Michaels just faintly pull his arm on top of the Undertaker, and a stundish, Earl Hebner. 1, 2, 3. HBK wins the match, the first ever Hell in a Cell match, and is now the number one contender at Survivor Series for the WWF Championship.
And you know what? That is gonna be it right there. We're gonna
We're
shut it off
we're
right there.
like Hell in a Cell. We come in a while, but that's it. We've reached it. That's the big finish.
Yeah.
This
So
is how you start the Hell in a Cell matchups with all this. Wow. Interference, bloodied Shawn Michaels, surprise, a guest surprise of a long lost brother. You got greatest match concept ever.
yeah, so we're gonna shut it down right there because we don't want to spoil anything else that could potentially come after this. We
That would be a
may
good
or may not
idea.
be teasing things for the future, but just we just want to we want to stop it right there before we do anything too crazy. But um well, Snow, let's go ahead and end this thing here. And I just wanna end it just by saying that keep in mind that that autographed Bret Hart picture will be available for those people who qualify. And we will be putting out on our social media the exact things you need to do in order to qualify. Those things will come out. I kind of give you a hint at it as far as like recommending and liking and retweeting and all that type of stuff. But and subscribing and all that good stuff. But I just want to say that there's still a little bit of time before Royal Rumble, and
Oh,
our
we got plenty of
information.
time. We've got plenty of
Yeah,
time. We're only in September. It's
yeah,
beginning. We have until January of next
right,
year to get
right.
this done. So, but between now and then, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, who are listening on various podcast applications, Apple, Podbean, everything that we post to, even even on Twitter, Facebook, follow us. We will we will post the rules and the how you can get into this drawing. Well, this Royal Rumble-esque event for us, but we want you to follow us, follow, retweet, do everything you can to, support us, share us on every social media platform that you can think of. Get the word out that the Flex Network is here, and you can get a Bret Hart signed picture. This is, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. This is something a lot of people, especially in Canada, oh, Canada, would love already. But again, we want you to share. We want you to like, follow us, 5-star us on everything that you see. We want to continue to do this, and we're going to continue to do this, but we want more people to see us. We want more people to hear our words.
Right. So the main way to follow us is at the Flex Network One on Twitter. We are all on Twitter. We all use the Flex Network accounts, but we also have our own separate accounts. But if you're just
Mhm.
specifically for this contest that we're doing, at the Flex Network One is the best way to find us. So that's the best way to find us. As for myself, you can find me at MB Walters 11, and for the Snowman, you could find him at AJS Dead Snow on Twitter. I'm trying to be not such an old man when it comes to Twitter and
Mhm.
actually use it and post things instead of just using it for like my own consumption. Um, but we're on the Facebook page. Search for us on Facebook. Just type in the Flex Network on Facebook. You'll find us
Uh,
there. Instagram, same
before
thing.
oh, before we end this whole thing, I know that we talked to this before we went on the air of how Chris Jericho lost his AEW world title that he just won, and how someone decided to make a little video of how the replacing a very good song of Limp Bizkit's, Nookie, and replace a couple of lyrics of, I did it for the Nookie for, I did it for the bubbly.
Yeah.
I,
Uh,
we that it was just posted, so I figure people might want to go out and check it on our Twitter because we did share it. So if you're watching this, we see you've seen this and seen that post. We know you're following, so get out there and follow us. So
right.
Mike, if you want to take us home.
Yeah. So let's go home here. Like I said,
Hey,
follow us on
we
all
did
those platforms.
we didn't go over 2 hours today, so
Right.
that's an
So
accomplishment.
okay. Well, as for the Snowman and as for myself, Flex Mike, we will catch you guys next week. Later.
Later.